There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your host, life and business coach, Marci Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code that will help you wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. All right, let's jump in. Hello, my beautiful people. I'm here with Jen. Jen is one of my favorite foot zoners ever. But before I just tell everybody about your life, why don't you start with your name, stage of life? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I am Jen Coleman. I've been married for 18 years and we have 4 kids. I work at a school, an elementary school, and my husband also works at an elementary school, and we actually work at the same school together, which is not very common. I also recently took a class and certified as a foot zoner just this year in June, and so I've been foot zoning and working both jobs and being a mom. So
I did not realize just June. That's just like a few months ago. Your zones are so good, though. And I was telling somebody else upstairs, we're at the retreat right now, the celebratory retreat, and I was like, I told Jen something that I would never, ever tell anybody. And it came up in the zone where you did something to my feet, and I was like, oh, I can feel that. And then you told me what it relates to, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. It makes sense a lot. So tell everybody where you first heard about me or how we became connected.
So I first met Marci. She was teaching water aerobics. It was probably like 6 years ago. And she was teaching water aerobics in North Ogden, and I loved water aerobics. And I actually kept going because she made it so fun.
Aww.
So she was the instructor that I went for. And like I would tell everybody else about it. I'm like, you gotta come. Marci makes it so fun. And so it just became this thing that I actually bought the pass every summer. And then it was sad during the winter when I didn't get to see her.
Same. I always count down the days where the summertime is over. But I love that you thought it was fun, because that's the only reason I do it, is because it's fun. And little fun fact about me, I try to know every single person's name. So when I teach a class, the very first class I went to as a participant, the fitness instructor knew and remembered my name. And that meant a lot to me. So I tried to do the same thing for all of my clients. So we've known each other for a while. What made you interested specifically in the accountability code when I started that?
So I noticed, because I'd been following you with your endeavors, and when I saw that you were writing a book, I love to learn, and I'm all about self-improvement. I think we could all improve somewhere in our life. Like, we all deserve that. This was something different than I've seen before. I've read a lot of books. I've taken a lot of classes on, improving your life. And this was something different and new. And so when I saw it, I was like, I need that book. I need it.
Yeah.
And so at the time, you had the workbook out. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to get the workbook, because it's basically the book, plus it has the place that I could write all the notes.
And yours is marked up.
It's marked up. And it was hard because I loved the book so much that I didn't want to mark it up at first.
Oh.
I didn't, because I was like, I just want to keep using this over and over. So I didn't want my notes everywhere, because I noticed with the accountability code, I used it a lot for helping my zoning practice. But I noticed we did have a shift somewhere in one of our coaching calls that I needed to make a shift for a minute and focus on myself personally.
Would you say that was your wake up and show up moment?
I think that was a wake up.
Because you initially joined, you wanted to grow your business, monetize your foot zoning, your new education, and then tell us about the shift that happened.
So I had a shift. I was actually going out of town, so it was perfect. And I like to reflect, which is the first step in the accountability code. So I was up in the mountains and reflecting. We have a lot of family stuff going on, and they're really heavy things for me. And I felt like I was putting a lot of that on myself. And so talking through that coaching call, like, just really helped me decide, okay, I need to take this time right now to reflect and go through the accountability code before I can go back into what I'm doing for my business.
Yeah.
Because, as we discussed, you need to take care of yourself.
Listeners, one of Jen's superpowers is holding space for people, immediately putting people at ease. And as a result, sometimes people in her family were like, do this, do this, do this. And you're like, yeah, okay, I guess I will. But it got to a point where you're like,
yes,
these burdens are very heavy. So, yes, you had that shift up in the mountain. And during that process, you recognize that with the accountability code. But what would you say was a loving kick in the pants that I was like, Jen, come on? What would you say that was?
So
there might be a couple, huh?
There was like quite a few. And like Instagram, like that is kind of a big thing for me because, social media really helps you out when you want to help educate.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd been talking about this. I have this fair. And so I hear Marci's voice a lot, like, Jen, there's only one post. I'm waiting for it.
I'm like, is this your Instagram? Because this looks just dead.
Yeah. So she's really sweet about it, but it's still like, you can do this. Like, as I was reflecting and, going through the steps of humility, like I need to do this for myself. This is my happy place. This is my thing that I love to do. Like, I'm worthy of this.
Yes.
And this is a gift, and I need to share it.
Yeah.
And I can help so many people. And if I don't, like, I am.
We talked about those feelings of like leaving that responsibility on the table. And we can talk more about that in a second. But first, I want you to tell everybody what your Instagram is.
Oh, my Instagram right now is Zen by Jen. But I'm thinking of switching up the name.
Oh, okay.
This retreat has I've thought more about, what is it that really zones me in? Like, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think about being grounded and balanced.
Okay.
And so
a name change is coming.
A name change is coming. So it might have to do with being balanced, grounded, being still.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
being
love
where
that.
Your feet are, literally.
Yes. At the retreat, we've been working on like elevator pitch and your offer and your ideal client. And I really liked that about your elevator pitch was at the feet. Because I was like, oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense. But it is symbolic of service and love and compassion and cleansing. Mm-hmm. So I really, really like that. So listeners, you're going to have to pay attention. The show notes, we will put Jen's updated Instagram handle when she has it. And you need to follow her. And if you don't see something recent, you need to message her and be like, hey, Jen, didn't you say something about being accountable to be consistent about educating? Anyway, so there's another little loving kick in the pants for you. Hey, listeners, the message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's free. I've recorded my entire audiobook and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcibarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. All right, let's jump back in. So at this retreat, we've been talking a lot about the business growth and the ability to really serve people with your superpowers. So what is something that you have experienced at this retreat that you just were not even aware of a few days ago?
It came down to the details. With all the feedback that I've gotten from everybody and support, I'm making things more difficult than it should be. That has been huge because that is a roadblock. That is what keeps me from moving forward, is those details. And I'm just making it harder than it is. And it was just clear that it's simple. Start with simple and what would I tell somebody in person? Like, what is foot zoning? What are the benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Just talk to them as I would talk in person, but just put it on social media.
Yeah, perfect.
Don't make it hard.
Did you hear that? I'm going to make you listen to this podcast again.
I would love to. I would love to. Like over and over. I will need that. That's another kick in the pants. So.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to say, are like above average when it comes to knowing the workbook. What is maybe one or two stories that the listeners should definitely go and check out?
So the story I really liked in the book was actually at the very beginning. It was creating a vision. I really liked that it was at the beginning because we need to have a vision of what we want to go for. And she told her story about what she wanted, what her vision was, and how she did it. And
I love that because when you came to me and we talked about your goals to grow your business, I said, okay, how do people book with you? And you're like, just text me. And I was like, no. How are people supposed to book with you, see your times, get reminded? And so I kind of went above and beyond and I was like, you need X, Y, and Z. And my husband has a program called Member Pages and it is a robust CRM. And I was like, Jen, do I have permission to help you with these things and make you do it? And I loved it because it was just another thing that proved like this gets to be easy. This gets to be streamlined. This gets to be more clear than it is. Mm-hmm. So I really liked that.
Yeah. And I agree. I really loved that suggestion and kind of the good push. And it helped with that vision because part of my vision is to not be stressed out about all of those little things about how people are going to book, but just to have them be able to go and then they, show up and
then one
stress-free.
Day you can quit your job.
Exactly.
And just do this full time and really share your superpower in a different way because you are amazing in your capacity at school.
Thank you.
As we finish up, what's something you would like the listeners to know? A piece of advice, information, insight? What do you think would be helpful for somebody who wants to become more accountable?
I would, to be more accountable, get the workbook. It is totally worth it. You will write in it. Don't be afraid to write in it. And you could do it several times. And pick things. It could be anything in life. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's just for businesses or, just your self-improvement. You can do this with your kids, your husband. There's unlimited things that you can use the accountability code for.
Yeah. And the workbook, if you don't know people, it's like a jumbo coloring book. You're going to feel so cool when you get that thing in the mail and you're like, holy moly.
That was a big bonus because I love colored pens and colored pencils. And so actually doodling in there, she has some block lettering in there that it's therapeutic to work through the accountability code.
Good.
As you're coloring. So she makes it fun too. So it's not boring. She shares lots of stories that you can relate to and lots of examples. And then she gives you, steps to take that are clear and they will help you.
Thank you. Okay. You have some big goals. I want people to follow you. I want other people to also hold you accountable in your big goals. So what do you perceive is your next loving kick in the pants? Listeners, we went through the accountability code today at the retreat in a group, and we talked about how now you know what you need to do and what would your life be like if you followed through and how sad would it be if you didn't do it. So what do you perceive as your next loving kick in the pants?
My big thing right now is educating people on what foot zoning is and how I can help them. And so I already do it, word of mouth, but social media, everybody's on social media, and I really need to up my game on that. And I plan on putting my content of what is a foot zone, what are the benefits of a foot zone.
Testimonials.
Yes, testimonials. essential oils, what to expect before, during, and after a foot zone. And if you choose, that you feel that could be something you want to do,
Mhm.
I have information on how they could be a certified foot zoner. And so that is getting that information out there. Education.
Perfect. I love that because ultimately that is how we became connected. I mean, you said you followed me for a long time, and there's people out there that are waiting for you to do those things, and you will be a saving grace for them. So thank you for being on my podcast, and thank you for the safe place you always create for me. Thank you for touching my feet, massaging my feet, making me feel good, and ultimately helping me expand as a person. So I love you and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Hey friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop me a review or share with a friend what you learned. All right, I'll see you next Wednesday for Your Loving Kick in the Pants.